all latitudes, the veneer of civilization is paper-thin. Scratch at the carapace, and you discover a world teeming with wildlife. In writing Urban Jungle, I set myself the task of exploring the wild side of cities, the parts of urban life that long fell outside the purview of the historian. The middens and rubbish dumps, the abandoned sites and empty rooftops, the strips of land behind chain-link fences and alongside railway lines. For much of history, wild patches in cities, with their diverse flora and fauna, provided food for the pot, fuel for the fire, ingredients for medicines, and places for play and recreation. The dividing line between city and countryside was blurry. Only comparatively recently did we break from those traditions. The messy side of cities, the alternate city of pavement gaps, building sites, forgotten swamps, and raggedy wastelands, is where nature gets a free rein and flourishes with wild abandon. What surprised me most when researching Urban Jungle was not so much the extraordinary abundance of nature in cities, although that is undoubtedly remarkable, as the sheer dynamism of the urban ecosystem. The natural part of cities is as restless, fast-paced, and cosmopolitan as the human. Incredible things happen in cities. We all know that. But often they happen in cracks in the concrete or in unassuming suburban back gardens. I chose a historical and global approach because only by looking deep into the past, examining the present, and casting an eye to the future, can we really begin to understand the bountiful potential of this most fascinating of ecosystems. Today, we are very interested in nature in the city, and for good reason, in an age of climate emergency and collapsing biodiversity. In this book, I go beyond this awakening awareness and examine the long and complicated relationship between city dwellers and the environment, both within and immediately around their metropolises. There is a deep and intrinsic connection between urbanization and nature. The city is an ecosystem. We only have to discover or rediscover it. This is, most importantly, a story of the people who craved greenery amid the grey, about how they fought against developers, planners, and investors. Above all, I want to warn of what happens when that connection breaks down. New York contains more species than Yosemite National Park. An abandoned oil refinery in Canvey Island, Essex, has been nicknamed England's rainforest, so abundant are its rare plants and insects. Australian cities shelter more endangered species per square kilometre than non-urban areas. Rather than being sterile or deadening, urban areas and their peripheries are stunningly biodiverse, often far more so than nearby countryside. It has taken us a long time to realise this. Nowhere has mankind been farther removed from organic nature than under the conditions of life characteristic of great cities. So wrote the American sociologist Lewis Worth in the 1930s. We perhaps see things differently now, or are beginning to. But Worth put his finger on a common feeling. City and countryside were assumed to be two irreconcilably divided realms. If you wanted Arcadian scenes and wildness, you had to leave the city. In Little Dorrit, 1857, Charles Dickens conjured up the deadness of the 19th century city. Melancholy streets in a penitential garb of soot steeped the souls of the people who were condemned to look at them out of windows in dire despondency. No pictures, no unfamiliar animals, no rare plants or flowers, no natural or artificial wonders of the ancient world. Nothing to see but streets, streets, streets. Nothing to breathe but streets, streets, streets. Nothing to change the brooding mind or raise it up. Miles of close wells and pits of houses, where the inhabitants gasped for air, stretched far away towards every point of the compass. Through the heart of the town, a deadly sewer ebbed and flowed, in the place of a fine, fresh river. That last sentence, for me, eloquently sums up why attitudes to nature in the city had become so pessimistic. Where once rivers, streams, and ponds had been life-giving, they had, by the industrialized 19th century, become stinking reservoirs of death, polluted with industrial effluents, rotting offal and raw sewage. Likewise, the animal life of the city, the thousands of horses that kept the city moving, the sheep, cows, poultry, and pigs slaughtered every day, the packs of dogs that scavenged the rubbish heaps, became a transmitter of lethal zoonotic diseases. The widespread urban myth of the sewer-dwelling alligator is a revealing one. Wildlife in the city had become a lurking threat, a mutated, warped, unnatural danger.